Millionaire hides wealth to test his girlfriend, but her unexpected loyalty reveals true love. Jake stood in the bustling local cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Only this time, he wasn't the charming millionaire known for his flashy car and lavish lifestyle. Today, he was a barista named Jake, blending in with the humdrum of everyday life. He had made a decision to put his relationship with Emily to the ultimate test, one he hoped would reveal the depths of her loyalty and love. Across the cafe, Emily's laughter rang like music to his ears, her kindness illuminating the world around her. She was a tireless nurse, tending not only to the physical needs of her patients, but also to the emotional burdens of her ailing mother. Watching her hustle through life, sacrificing so much, tugged at Jake's heart. He admired her immensely, yet he also felt an unsettling echo of guilt for the world. He inhabited a world filled with luxuries that shielded him from the struggles she faced daily. With each shift behind the counter, he began to see Emily through a different lens. Customers entered, exchanging pleasantries about their days, while others vented their frustrations about bills, healthcare, and dreams deferred. He worked alongside frazzled colleagues who juggled multiple jobs just to put food on the table. It was eye-opening. As he ground coffee beans and steamed milk, he felt the weight of each transaction, a burdensome reminder that life held a different meaning for the majority. As days passed, the tension within their relationship grew. Emily's financial strain intensified, pushing her to shy away from the glitzy dinners they once shared. It broke Jake's heart to witness her longing for the simple outings they used to enjoy together, the ones he could easily treat her to. He felt the tightness in his chest, knowing it stemmed from his decision to keep his identity a secret. Then came the autumn festival, a cherished celebration of community. Jake wanted to create something special for Emily, pouring his heart into handmade gifts that would convey his love instead of expensive trinkets. He envisioned a night filled with laughter, like the flickering lights illuminating the crisp fall air, sharing in the essence of togetherness that the event promised. But as the festival drew near, a careless post from a mutual friend on social media revealed Jake's hidden identity. The skies seemed to darken as reality crashed down on him. Emily confronted him, her face stained with tears, her voice breaking. "You manipulated me," she cried. Betrayal seeped into every word. "I've always valued loyalty, not wealth. Love isn't proven by money, but by the sacrifices made for one another." Jake's heart shattered as guilt washed over him. Each brave word from Emily flayed him open, exposing his deepest fears of inadequacy. He realized that in trying to test her, he had only betrayed the love they shared. Now, with their relationship hanging in the balance, he knew he had to make things right. But how could he regain her trust? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they stood at that fateful crossroads, Jake gathered his courage. He was determined to embrace honesty, to publicly acknowledge Emily's worth and the depth of his feelings. What if he couldn't find the right words? What if it was too late? The stakes had never been higher, and the ever-looming question, would love survive deception, echoed fiercely in his heart. The night of the festival beckoned, a chance for redemption. Would he step forward into the light or remain hidden in the shadows he'd created? The night of the festival arrived, vibrant and alive with color. Lanterns hung from trees, their warm glow competing with the stars above, while the sound of laughter and music filled the air. For a moment, Jake felt a flicker of hope amid his anxiety. If he played his cards right, perhaps this evening could turn everything around. He watched Emily from a distance as she mingled with friends, her smile radiating joy despite the tension between them. His heart sank when he remembered their last conversation, the pain etched on her face. Would he truly be able to fix what he had broken? Taking a deep breath, he stepped out from behind his insecurities. That's where Emily deserved to find him, unguarded, vulnerable, and ready to fight for their love. As he approached her, He felt the energy of the festival amplify his heartbeat. They locked eyes, and he saw something that tore at him, a flicker of wariness mixed with affection. It was a moment suspended in time, where the chaos of the festival faded into silence, leaving just the two of them caught between love and betrayal. "Emily," he said softly, his voice barely rising above the chatter of the crowd. She turned to him, her expression a mixture of determination and trepidation. He could see how hard she was trying to mask her hurt. "Jake," she replied, her voice steady but strained. "What do you want?" He swallowed hard. "I want to talk. I need to explain everything." Emily hesitated, her eyes reflecting uncertainty. "What is there to explain? You lied to me. You hid who you really are. I don't know if I can trust you again." He held up his hands, desperate for understanding. "I know I messed up. I thought I was testing you, but I see now that I was the one who failed. I wanted to know if you could love me for me, not my money. But I realize it was never about that for you. You have always valued honesty and kindness. Please, let me show you how much I appreciate you." Emily folded her arms defensively, uncertainty clouding her gaze. "And how do you plan to do that?" Jake glanced around, heart pounding. Suddenly, an idea struck him. The festival was filled with joy, love, and a sense of community. He needed to show Emily that he was no longer hiding behind a facade. "Let us make a promise, here, tonight," he said, his voice stronger now. "I want to stand before you and everyone else at this festival and show my love for you. Strip away all the wealth and expectations. Just us." Her eyes softened, yet remained wary. "What does that even mean, Jake?" Pulling his phone from his pocket, he scrolled until he found a simple yet heartfelt note he had written earlier, words meant to express his love beyond materialistic measures. "I want to read this to you," he said, feeling the weight of conviction in his heart. "In front of everyone. Will you let me?" She looked around, embarrassed yet intrigued, her heart yearning for connection rather than disconnect. "You think that will change anything?" He stepped closer, his voice steady. "It's a start. A promise from me that I'll be honest. No more tests, only love." He watched her contemplate. The tension hung in the air, thick and heavy, filled with possibilities. Would she allow him the chance to redeem himself? As Jake prepared to step onto the makeshift stage, he held his breath. This was his moment. But would she stand by his side, or was he too late to mend a rift caused by his deception? In the crowd, the buzz continued, but only silence filled their small world, the unspoken question hanging between them. Would love find a way through the ruins he had caused? Or would tonight end with heartbreaking finality? Jake took a shaky breath, glancing again at Emily, a mix of hope and fear swirling within him. She stood there, her arms still crossed, but he caught that little glimmer of something, maybe curiosity, maybe longing. The crowd moved around them, laughter and applause rising and falling like the tide. But to Jake, it felt like they were both on an island, isolated in their own tumultuous sea. "Emily," he whispered, feeling the urgency of the moment. "Let me show you what you mean to me." Without waiting for her response, he stepped onto the stage. The wooden platform creaked under his weight as he turned to face the crowd. Some of the festival goers cheered, but most were looking at him with puzzled expressions. He raised a hand for silence, his heart racing as he steadied himself. Emily remained below, watching him, her eyes painted with a mixture of vulnerability and guarded determination. "Hey everyone," he began, trying to ignore the tremor in his voice. "I just want to take a moment to say something really important." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Ever since I met Emily, she has shown me what real love looks like. She is honest, caring, and the kind of person who lights up any room she is in." Jake glanced back at her, and for a second, he could see the tiniest smile tugging at her lips. Encouraged by that, he pushed on. "But I didn't honor that love. I was selfish and scared. I lied about who I was because I thought it was a test. A twisted way to find out if she loved me, or for what I have. But I see now, that was the worst mistake I could have made." The murmurs from the crowd faded into a reverent silence, hanging on every word. He felt the burn of tears threatening to spring forward, but he fought them back. "Emily, I don't want to hide anymore. I want you in my life for all the right reasons. If I needed to show you that I'm more than just my wealth, I'm asking you to believe in me again, to trust me." He took a deep breath as he fumbled with his phone, the note he had written earlier feeling crucial now. "I wrote something for you. It's the truth, stripped down without the glitz or glamour. Clearing his throat, he started to read. The moments we shared, the laughter, the tenderness, every kind word you've ever spoken, it's all more valuable to me than anything money can buy. You've taught me the meaning of love, and I was too blind to see it. As he spoke, Jake looked straight at Emily again, her expression softening. The hurt in her eyes was still there, but there was something else, a flicker of hope. I'm sorry for making you doubt my feelings. For not being honest. You deserve more. He finished the note and set his phone aside, feeling strangely vulnerable but rawly honest. I know it won't be easy to forgive me, but if you can, take this leap with me. We all need connection, and I swear I'll be the man you deserve. One without conditions. The crowd erupted in applause, but all Jake could see was Emily. The corner of her mouth finally twitched into a genuine smile, and his heart soared. Jake, she said, her voice rising above the cheers, emotion thick in her throat. I don't know if I'm ready to just forget everything. The cheer faded back into silence as they locked eyes, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Was he asking for too much too soon? Could love truly be reborn from such ashes? Or was this just an illusion of hope? As Jake stepped down, determination lingered in the air between them. It wasn't just about the past or the mistakes anymore. It was about what could be. They could either find new ground to walk on together or risk losing everything once again. And for Jake, that was the hardest truth to face. Would sending his heart out into the open bring redemption? Or would it leave him standing in the dark, alone with his regrets? Jake felt the stage swallow him up as he stepped down, his heart racing while he searched Emily's face for some sign of understanding. The applause faded, leaving a heavy silence hanging like a storm cloud between them. He could feel the crowd's curiosity creeping back, their eyes sliding away from him, back to Emily, unsure of what would happen next. Emily, he said, voice trembling slightly. I didn't want to make it so complicated. I should just trusted you. Understood that love doesn't need shiny things. She stepped back, arms still crossed, the warmth of hope starting to fade from her eyes. But you chose to hide. You made it complicated, Jake. That is not something I can just overlook. The hurtful truth sat like a lead weight in his stomach, and as she spoke, he realized he hadn't just broken her trust. He severed it. The festival continued around them, children laughing, couples dancing, but it felt surreal, as if they were frozen in a moment that refused to move forward. I can change, he started, desperate. Change takes time, she interrupted, her voice firm. People don't just change overnight because they want to. I know, Jake said, heart pounding. But I'm willing to try. I wouldn't have stood up there if I wasn't. Emily, I need you to believe me when I say I want to be better for you, for us. She hesitated, the inner battle playing across her features. Jake reached for her hand, but stopped. He knew better than to push. Instead, he stood there, waiting, his breath caught in his throat. I wish I could just forgive you, she said, biting her lip. Every day since you shut me out, I've wished it so much. But every time I see you, all I can think of is the lies. The pain in her voice sliced through him. That's what he had to face, his own choices. I'll always have to earn it back. I understand that, he replied softly. But I have to try. Just let me show you. As the tension rolled through the air between them, a small boy in the crowd bumped against her leg, momentarily breaking the heavy silence. Emily's attention shifted, and the softness returned momentarily. She knelt to smile at the kid, and Jake felt a flicker of the warmth he had once known. It was there, behind her stormy eyes, somewhere waiting to re-emerge. Look, she said, straightening up. I can't keep going back and forth. I need time. If you really want to make this right, that's the first step. Time. The word echoed painfully in his mind, and for a fleeting second, he was swallowed by despair. Could he truly wait? A reconciled heart didn't just mend in moments. There was so much to rebuild. Okay, he said finally, steeling himself. I'll give you the time you need. I'll be here, no matter how long it takes. As she nodded, a wave of uncertainty flashed across her face, coupled with a touch of relief. It was a small step, but a step nonetheless. Then, just like that, something caught Emily's eye behind Jake. She tensed slightly, watching something lurk on the fringe of the crowd. What's that? She asked, pointing. Jake turned, following her gaze. There, hidden among the festival goers, was a figure he hadn't expected to see. someone from his past, someone who could completely disrupt his fragile moment with Emily. His heart raced again as if it had jumped on a roller coaster. Was this figure a threat to what he was trying to rebuild, or a lifeline to the truth he had avoided? Jake squinted, trying to make out the figure Emily had spotted. It was unmistakably Mark, an old friend from college, someone who had once been more like a brother. But it wasn't he, just the familiarity that sent a chill down his spine. It was the circumstances of their last encounter. Mark had always been the confident type, the one who flaunted his successes, while Jake had curated his carefully crafted persona of modesty and simplicity. What is he doing here? Jake muttered under his breath, an uneasy knot forming in his stomach. Emily's eyes widened, her expression shifting from concern to surprise. There was a flicker of something unreadable in her gaze, curiosity mingled with a hint of apprehension. Do you want to talk to him? She asked hesitantly. Jake hesitated, emotions swirling like a storm. Part of him wanted to retreat. The last thing he needed was confrontation while he was trying to win Emily back. But as he turned to face Mark, the other part of him recognized this could be an opportunity to confront his past head-on and shed some light on the truth he had let fester for too long. Yeah, I guess, he said, forcing a smile. It might be time to clear the air. With each step toward Mark, Jake's heart pounded louder. The festival noise faded slightly, replaced by a pressure in his ears, as if the world had narrowed down to just the two of them. He could see Mark talking animatedly to a group of people, laughter cascading around him. When their eyes met, there was a brief moment of surprise, quickly morphing into a knowing smirk on Mark's face. Jake, he called, waving as he approached. Long time no see. What brings you back to this corner of the world? Jake swallowed hard. Just, visiting. He struggled to maintain casualness. And you? Is this a surprise visit for the festival? Something like that, Mark replied, his tone laced with that familiar arrogance. I've got some business down here. Thought I'd enjoy the festivities. But come on, man, joining the small-town crowd? That's so not you. Jake felt the heat rise in his cheeks. There it was, the very judgment he had hoped to avoid. Yeah, I've made some changes. I can see that, Mark replied, his gaze flickering to Emily, then back to Jake. But you know, it really is about time you embraced who you really are. Hiding from the truth only makes it worse. Jake's throat tightened. Would this be just another moment where he felt exposed? Look, Mark, hold on a second, Mark interrupted, raising an eyebrow. Why don't I grab us some drinks? We can catch up properly? As Mark walked away, Jake turned to Emily, his heart racing. I didn't expect him to show up today. I have no idea what he is going to say. Emily watched Mark as he moved through the crowd, then turned back to Jake. Are you worried he'll say something that could hurt you? It's worse than that. He knows things about me, about what I've hidden. Then maybe you need to confront him, Emily said softly. You have a chance to show me who you really are. You can't keep hiding. Her voice held a sense of determination that stirred something deep within Jake. Could he face Mark and finally lay bare the truth? But as he contemplated the upcoming confrontation, the crowd swirled around him like a whirlwind, full of anticipation and unknown outcomes. Let us do this, Jake said finally, conviction settling in him like a steady flame. Neither of them noticed the shadows lengthening behind them, Mark's laughter ringing out as he rejoined the group, that same smirk returning. What happens next might just change everything, Emily whispered, her voice almost lost in the din of the festival. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of not just his past, but the future hanging in the balance. Was he ready to unravel the threads he had so carefully woven? As he turned back toward Mark, a question loomed in the air. Would this moment lead to healing or more heartache? As Mark returned, drinks in each hand, the atmosphere pulsed with tension. Jake clenched and unclenched his fists at his sides, trying to keep his breathing steady. Emily stood close, her gaze flickering between the two men, caught in a silent battle looming in the air. Here we are. Cheers to old friends, Mark declared, raising his drink like a toast, his grin wide and confident. It felt more like a challenge than a celebration. Jake accepted the drink, but felt the cold glass was burning in his palm. Thanks, Jake muttered, forcing the words out past the lump in his throat. Emily took a sip of her drink, her eyes darting back to Jake, silently urging him to stand his ground. Mark leaned against a nearby booth, casual yet imposing. So what is new with you? I heard you were just selling out to small-town life. Each word dripped with derision. Didn't he think you'd ever resign yourself to the simple things? Jake clenched his jaw. I've made a lot of important changes in my life, Mark. It's not all about the glitz and glam for everyone. Mark's brow raised, a mocking smile appearing. Is that so? Then why do you look like a deer caught in headlights right now? You're still hiding, Jake. That much I can see. The laughter of the festival-goers faded in the background. Jake felt the crowd shrinking down to just the three of them. Mark didn't seem to care about others anymore. It was all about proving a point. Mark, maybe you should stop hiding behind your jokes and confront your own insecurities. Jake shot back, surprising even himself with the boldness. Your life seems perfect on the outside, but I know better. Why do you feel the need to belittle others? Mark's expression faltered for a split second, the smirk fading. You think you know me? You've always been so quick to judge without understanding. Understanding what? That you built a life where only your ego is welcome? Jake countered, the heat rising once more. Emily's eyes widened. She was watching him. The surprise and admiration mingled with an anxiety for her own heart. Jake's heart raced. This conversation was heading down a path he couldn't turn back from. Mark's face twisted in indignation before plastering on that familiar grin. It's clear you still can't handle the truth, can you? I might be brash, but I also know how to play the game unlike you, it seems. Is that what you think it's about? A game? Jake replied, every word measured, trying to grasp onto the truth he had kept buried for so long. Some of us seek real connections, not mere transactions. You're still playing your role, chasing a feeling that's always just out of reach. The words hung between them like a thin thread, ready to snap. Jake could feel Emily's eyes on him, a steady reminder of the stakes of what truly mattered. He couldn't retreat now, not when he had finally found his voice. Mark stared at him, the smirk returning but lacking its previous confidence. Maybe you should remember who you were talking to. I can destroy you with just a word. Or maybe, Jake shot back, feeling boldness arise. It's time you faced the truth about yourself. You've hidden behind your wealth and influence so long. You've forgotten how to connect with real people, and it scares you. Just then, Mark's phone buzzed in his pocket. He seemed momentarily distracted. Jake seized the chance to breathe, but the moment didn't last long. Mark glanced down, his expression unreadable. I just got a message. Anything could change the game here. What was this? Jake could feel his heart pounding, the thrill of confrontation mixing with fear. Had Mark's revelation pulled back a curtain, showing a glimpse of something larger lurking beneath the surface? Let us see where this goes, shall we? Mark said ominously, looking back at Jake, his eyes narrowed, speculation swirling in the heat of the moment. Jake could feel a web tightening around him, leaving him breathless, but there was an odd sense of liberation as well. He turned to Emily, searching her eyes for strength. Whatever happens, just remember, I'm standing my ground, he said, almost as an affirmation to himself. And behind them, the crowd continued to swirl, laughter echoing. A sudden shift in the atmosphere made Jake realize that the real game was just beginning. How much were they both willing to risk? What could be uncovered amidst the layers they had built up over years? Jake's heart raced at the thought, and before he could catch his breath, the next wave crashed in on him. What secrets was Mark hiding that could change everything for them all? The tension settled deeper as Mark stared at his phone, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. Jake's heart drummed wildly in his chest. Had Mark received news that would upend everything they had built their lives around? Care to share? Jake demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. The corners of Mark's mouth twitched just slightly. He enjoyed the game too much. Looks like some new information just came in. You remember Alex, right? The investor I mentioned? Jake felt a pang. Alex had once been a friend, an ally, until things soured. What about him? Let us say our little festival's about to get more explosive. Mark chuckled, but there was a sharp edge to it. You see, he has been digging where he shouldn't. Found a few things I'd rather keep under wraps. And you, Jake, seem to be right in the middle of it. What do you mean? Jake's mind raced, scanning the permutations of possibilities. Funny how you think you're safely tucked away in this quiet life. Turns out, old connections don't sever as easily as you think. Mark's voice dripped with malice. Wonder how Emily will feel when the truth comes out. A cold sweat broke out across Jake's skin, but he stood firm. Emily deserves better, Mark. Whatever twisted mess you're trying to create, It won't change what she means to me. You can't use her against me. Mark leaned in closer, lowering his voice, as if sharing a secret. Oh, but I can. If things get messy, who do you think she'll believe, a simple country boy, or the man who can afford the glitzy life? You should start thinking about who you want at your side. Emily watched them, her expression unreadable, but Jake could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. He felt that familiar panic rise again, but this time he tried to harness it. Mark was threatening them with shadows, and Jake refused to let fear guide him. Just because you have money doesn't mean you hold all the cards, Jake said, his voice steady despite feeling like the ground beneath him was crumbling. Sometimes the strongest bond is built on trust and loyalty, not just influence. Mark threw back his head and laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the festival. People turned at the commotion, momentarily drawn from their celebrations. Trust? Loyalty? Cute. But let us see how well those ideals hold up when real life comes knocking. An uneasy feeling churned in Jake's stomach, but he pushed the thought away. I won't let you manipulate us. You've always been good with words, but it sounds more like insecurity is what's really driving you. The moment hung thick in the air, the crowd whispering, glancing back and forth as the tension wrapped around them all like a vice. Mark straightened, crafting a new facade, but Jake could see the tension in his eyes. He was on the edge of losing control. Suddenly, a group of festival organizers burst onto the scene, drawing attention away from the confrontation. One of them, a woman with bright red hair, approached with urgency. Mark, we need you. There's a situation over at the stage. Mark's eyes darkened, then flicked back to Jake and Emily, a flash of something, fear? Resentment? Crossing his features. This isn't over, he hissed before sweeping away, the crowd parting for him. Jake felt a rush of relief flood through him, yet that lingering weight still settled in his chest. Emily, he began, but she didn't need to hear him finish. Her eyes were glued to the retreating figure of Mark, processing the storm they had just faced together. I can't believe he... She trailed off, biting her lower lip. Jake felt frustration simmering. This wasn't about Mark winning. This was about them. Emily, I meant what I said, Jake urged, stepping closer, his heart racing again under the weight of unsaid truths. You have to trust me. His games aren't just some petty rivalry. He's trying to manipulate things that could ruin us. Her gaze met his, something indefinable swirling in her eyes. What if he finds a way to prove it? Then it won't matter, Jake said firmly. I'll face whatever comes. We'll face it together. But doubt flickered in her eyes again. Are you really ready for that? As the laughter of the festival resumed without them, a feeling of urgency filled the air. They had to confront what Mark was threateningly hinting at. Behind the festival lights, shadows loomed. A battle was brewing, and it would take every ounce of trust between them to withstand it. What if this is only the beginning? Emily whispered, fear creeping into her words. Jake took a deep breath, squeezing her hand. Let us find out. Together. They shared a moment, charged with adrenaline and determination. But just as hope ignited, a distant commotion reached their ears, the kind of disruption that promised more than just noise. Could they really handle what was coming next? The music from the festival faded into a low hum as Jake and Emily stood together, the night air thick with uncertainty. The colorful lights twinkled overhead, casting playful shadows on their faces, but nothing felt festive about their surroundings now. Jake's mind raced, calculating every possible move Mark could take, and how this looming threat could unravel everything they built together. Let me just go check on the others, Emily said, glancing back toward the main stage. The worry in her eyes tugged at him. She needed reassurance, but she also needed space to think. Wait. He reached out, gently stopping her. Just be careful, okay? I don't want you getting dragged into whatever Mark is planning next. She nodded slowly, but there was something else there, a flicker of determination hidden beneath her uncertainty. I'm not scared of him, Jake. I need to understand what I'm up against. As she moved away, Jake watched her blend back into the crowd, feeling an ache in his chest. Moments like these reminded him of everything that bonded them, the trust, the laughter, even the silly inside jokes that no one else understood. He couldn't let Mark shatter that. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the festival stage, followed by a flurry of shouting voices. Panic swept through the crowd, people shifting nervously, glancing around for answers. Jake's heart pounded as he pushed deeper into the mass of bodies, searching for Emily despite the chaos. "Emily!" he shouted, panic rising like bile in his throat. Then, he caught sight of her, standing near the edge of the stage, her eyes wide with shock. Mark was there too, flanked by a couple of agitated security personnel. "Everyone, please remain calm." Mark's voice boomed over the murmurs, but his expression showed his struggle for control. It was a stark contrast to the confident facade he always wore. "What is happening?" Jake demanded, stepping close to Emily. It looks like someone staged a protest," she said breathlessly, pointing toward the stage. A group of people, holding signs and chanting, had pushed their way to the front, drawing attention away from the actual event. "They're calling for more transparency about the event funding." Jake's stomach dropped. He could almost hear Mark's venomous words playing in his head. On the surface, this protest felt like the perfect distraction, but he wondered if it ran deeper, almost like a calculated move to draw attention away from him and Emily. "We need to move," he said urgently, pulling Emily aside. Before they could slip away, Mark spotted them. "Jake! Emily!" He waved them over with a manic grin plastered on his face. "You two have to see this. It's about time the truth comes out, don't you think?" "What are you talking about?" Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Well, this little event is funded by more than just community donations, as you can see," Mark said, his eyes glinting with malice. "Let us say the people have questions, and I happen to know a few interesting secrets about our little festival. Secrets that everyone would love to hear." And knot twisted tighter in Jake's gut as he glanced at Emily. It was the moment they had been dreading, the moment when their lives could shatter into pieces if truth met betrayal. But what could he do? Would she believe him, or would she falter under the pressure Mark was building? "Let us not do this here, Mark," Jake whispered, keeping his voice low to avoid drawing even more attention. He could practically hear the ticking clock counting down, the moment fading as the crowd buzzed. Emily stepped forward, her chin lifted defiantly. "Mark, if you've got something to say, then say it." Her voice carried strength, and for a second, Jake felt a flicker of hope. "All right then," Mark exclaimed, the grin spreading dangerously wide. "Let us take a little stroll and see what the people really want to know, starting with how their money is being spent." Jake's heart raced. Mark was dragging them into a battle that could expose everything. A wild idea struck him. We can't let him control the narrative. But just as they began to decide their next move, a different commotion erupted off to their right. Jake couldn't catch his breath as he turned to see a crowd forming around another area. Tension radiated through the air like the calm before a storm. They were being pulled in different directions, and Jake felt the suffocating weight of choice. Would they stand and fight, risking everything they had left, or would they flee now with the order they had held onto so desperately? "Emily, let us move." His voice was urgent as he grasped her hand tightly, leading her away from Mark and the festival that had once been a celebration. But would it be enough to save what they cherished? With every step, uncertainty loomed larger, and behind them, the echo of Mark's laughter pushed their resolve to its limits. What awaited them around the corner? As they darted through the thrumming crowd, Jake's mind raced faster than his feet. The echoes of Mark's voice haunted him, a sinister whisper woven into the fabric of the festival's joyous chaos. Emily's hand in his felt like an anchor, tethering him to the moment. But a storm brewed just beyond their reach. "Where are we going?" she shouted over the cacophony, her eyes darting anxiously. "Away from him. We need to regroup," Jake replied, scanning the faces around them. Fear and excitement danced in the air as snippets of conversations swirled like confetti. He tugged her toward a dimly lit alley, the pulsating noise of the festival gradually fading behind them. Once they were out of sight from the main throng, Emily pulled her hand away, feelings evident in her furrowed brow. "Jake, you can't just run every time things get tough. We need to face this." Her intensity caught him off guard. "Face what? Mark's threats? He is dangerous, Em." "Maybe he is, but running doesn't make it go away. We can't ignore him." Jake took a deep breath, his shoulders tensing. "It's not just about us. If he drops those truths in front of everyone, it could ruin everything we've worked for. You have to trust me." Emily closed her eyes briefly, a storm of emotions playing across her features. "I do trust you, Jake, but I also know that standing up to him might be the only way to get control back." At least then, we'll have a chance to turn the tide. Her words sank into him like stones pulling him down. He knew she had a point. Hiding away wouldn't shield them forever. But preparing to confront Mark felt like stepping onto a battlefield. Okay, he replied, softer, trying to calm the storm inside. But we need a plan. We can't just confront him blindly. As they spoke, a chill snaked up Jake's spine. The distant rumble of the crowd echoed like thunder, and lights flickered ominously overhead. He could almost sense the chaos beyond the alley. Mark's voice weaving its way through the crowd, enticing them with whispers of scandal. What if we find proof? Something to show everyone that Mark's not some kind of hero? Emily suggested. Her voice held a hint of excitement, and for the first time, her determination sparked a flicker of hope in him. Jake nodded slowly, the idea taking root in his mind. We could gather evidence. Make sure the truth comes out, our truth. But it has to be solid. Then we find something, Emily declared, her eyes brightening. Something that reveals Mark for who he really is. We can corner him into revealing the truth himself. They exchanged glances, unspoken understanding flickering between them. The spark of a real plan began to form. Where do we start? Jake asked, excitement slowly replacing his trepidation. Let us sneak back into the crowd, Emily answered, her spirit igniting. We'll find out who these protesters are. They might have information or connections that can help us. Heart racing, they stepped back into the pulsating energy of the crowd. Jake could feel the tension at the nape of his neck, every instinct telling him to tread carefully. But with Emily at his side, he felt a newfound strength surging through him. The festival lights flashed as they navigated deeper, heading toward where the protest had initially begun. Voices thrummed, a mixture of anger and determination forging a powerful symphony around them. Jake, over here. Emily pulled him toward a small group gathered near the barricade. Friends and strangers alike were discussing their grievances about the festival. Jake tightened his grip on her hand as they approached. Let us see what they know. We need every piece of information we can get. Before they could introduce themselves, an older man, shouting above the dissent, caught their attention. We want to let this festival become a puppet show. If we don't act now, who will protect our community? Jake exchanged a glance with Emily, both realizing they were standing on the precipice of something bigger than they had imagined. As he stepped forward, heart racing, the murmurs began to quiet down, eyes turning toward him and Emily. Excuse me, he called out, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes on him. We're here to help. We want to know how we can fight back against Mark. His declaration hung in the air like a lit fuse, the crowd awaiting their next move. And Jake sensed that whatever came next could change everything. Would they rally together or be buried beneath the weight of Mark's secrets? The question lingered, heavy and electric, as he faced the sea of eager faces waiting for their answer. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, a wave of uncertainty washing over them as Jake stood at the forefront, Emily right by his side. Suddenly, he felt the weight of their shared vulnerability and determination smashing into the chaos around them. Would they rise together or fall apart in this storm? An older woman stepped up, her expression resolute. What do you plan to do to confront Mark? He is powerful, and he'll use anything against you. Jake swallowed hard, nodding in understanding. We want to expose how he manipulates the community and maintains his grasp. If we gather evidence, we can turn the tide back in our favor. A murmur rippled through the crowd, energy shifting as hope began to spread. Emily chimed in, her spirit shining bright. He can't be allowed to control the narrative anymore. But we need your voices, your stories who has evidence of his manipulations. With that, voices broke through like a piercing sun, igniting the fire within them. People started sharing stories of shady deals, backroom conversations, and the emotional toll on their families. As they exchanged information and ideas with urgency, Jake felt a profound sense of unity shimmering in the air, a community ready to fight back, a community ready to restore trust. Let us hold a rally. Let us stand together and demand transparency, someone shouted, their voice echoing through the crowd. Jake felt the spark ignite within everyone there. Yeah, Emily cried out, her eyes alight with enthusiasm. Let us gather all this evidence and force Mark to face the truth. With fresh conviction, they spent the next hour organizing, sharing thoughts about where to gather evidence and how to present it without fear of Mark's retaliation. Jake stood taller, a weight lifting from his chest as he felt the power of the group behind him. Together, we can take back our festival and community, he declared, eyes gleaming with newfound determination. We'll shine a light on the darkness. Cheers erupted around him, laughter and hope filling the air, banishing the shadows that had clung to them for so long. As the sun dipped lower, Jake and Emily moved back toward the center of the festival, enveloped by the energy buzzing with possibilities. Their hearts raced in tandem, the reality of their newfound alliance breathing life into their struggle. But amid the celebration, tension lurked just beneath the surface. Mark was still out there, playing his own game, and Jake didn't underestimate his ability to manipulate the situation. They needed to act fast. They drew up a plan, gathering supporters who saw the truth, voices mingling with the flickering laughter of families enjoying the festival. Sheer determination knitted them together, growing into something bigger than themselves, a movement committed to unearthing the reality that lay hidden beneath deception. Finally, the moment came. They stood together, the people surrounding them in a circle, eager and hungry for change, empowered by each other's presence. Together, we will show Mark he does not have power over us, Jake said, raising his voice above the hum. This community deserves better. We deserve transparency. It's right here, in this moment, when we take back what is ours. Cheers erupted anew, voices soaring, the sound stronger than any festival music. And then it all happened at once, a movement, a counteraction. A group of demonstrators huddled on stage with signs, the crowd rallying around them. They joined forces, a torrent of energy surging through every heart present. Just then, Mark appeared at the edge of the crowd, an eyebrow raised, smirk firmly in place. But there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes that didn't go unnoticed by Jake. It became clear, this was no longer just a battle of wills. The stakes were higher than ever before, and the power didn't rest solely with him anymore. Jake, Mark shouted, striding forward, voice dripping with arrogance. You're making a grave mistake thinking you can sway this crowd. They'll see you for the fraud you really are. Jake's chest swelled with defiance. Fraud? No, Mark. That's you. It's time the people see through your lies. The crowd erupted, chanting words of solidarity, unwavering in their support. Yes, this was the moment of redemption. Shadows would no longer dominate under the light of honesty. Their united voices reached the stars above, echoing with purpose. Mark tried to regain dominance, but as he glared at Jake, reality crashed down. The crowd wasn't swayed. They stood firm beside Jake and Emily, fueled by the promise of clarity, honesty, and hope. That as the festival lights flickered around them, laughter ringing, the hope that had once seemed elusive began to materialize. With every chant, every heartbeat in sync, they pushed through the storm together. Tonight, we reclaim our truth, Jake shouted. In that heartbeat of collective strength, Mark faltered, the shadows he once wielded now cast aside, revealing the stark truth behind his manipulations. What unfolded next was a testament to resilience, unity, and the power of standing up for what was right. Jake turned to Emily, realization washing over him. Together, they had ignited a revolution born from loyalty and love that no amount of wealth could ever overshadow. As the cheers rang out, Jake grasped Emily's hand, gratefulness flooding through him. Their bond had been tested and tempered, and in this vibrant moment, they had forged a strength that would endure. It was only the beginning of rebuilding a life of integrity together. As the festival pulsed around them, Jake's voice broke through the noise. Let us make this a night to remember. For ourselves, our love, and our community. Cheers exploded again, hearts soaring. But even as they celebrated, whispers of uncertain futures lingered. The fight for truth was only just starting, and they had to stay vigilant. As the crowd moved toward a new dawn, Jake vowed he would stand by Emily, arm in arm, ready to face whatever came next. This was just the beginning of a lasting transformation ignited by love and fierce loyalty. And as the night continued on, a simple request echoed through the excitement that had found its home in their hearts. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about this transformative journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story unfold. Your support matters.